Today, if someone steals food, we call it a crime. Then the law takes over. But 100,000 years ago, there was no law to take over. And yet, thieves already existed. Picture a hungry ancient tribe resting around a fire at night. They have not eaten enough for a long time. The people who searched for food that day only brought back a little meat. That meat is supposed to be saved for morning, but before sunrise, someone takes it. When the others wake up, the food is gone. The child is still hungry. The adults fall silent. Everyone knows this cannot simply be ignored, but there is no police to call, no court to decide what is fair. So what should happen to this person? And more importantly, if he pays no price at all, how can this tribe keep trusting one another? On the surface, it is only a missing piece of meat. But in the ancient world, food was never just food. When a tribe was already close to hunger, one mouthful of meat could decide whether a weak person made it through the night. So the person who stole the food did not only take a little meat, he made everyone realize something frightening. At the moment when the tribe was most vulnerable, someone was willing to put himself before everyone else. That was the real danger. From that moment on, people were not only asking where the meat had gone, they were asking whether they could still trust each other with food, with the night, and with danger. What a thief truly damaged was the reason people kept cooperating. At first, the most obvious answer seems to be force. Catch him, punish him, maybe drive him away. In the ancient world, that could certainly happen. Humans were never so gentle that conflict did not exist. But violence was not a stable system. Especially inside a small tribe, punishing one person never affected only that person. He was not a stone you could simply remove from the ground. If the response was too rough, the new trouble could become harder to control than the theft itself. You might think you are only punishing the person who stole food, but everyone else is watching. If they think the punishment is unfair, the problem is no longer only theft. It becomes fear, resentment, and revenge. This was the difficult part for ancient humans. It was not that they did not understand bad behavior had to be handled. It was that they needed a way to stop harmful behavior without letting punishment itself become a new danger. Before fists were raised, and before someone was expelled, an older and cheaper force was already at work. Reputation. In a tribe of only a few dozen people, it was hard to truly hide who you were. Sooner or later, the tribe would notice whether you were reliable. That judgment would be remembered. It would be talked about. And eventually, it would become reputation. Today, when we hear the word gossip, we often think of something shallow, people talking behind each other's backs, a waste of time. But in a small ancient tribe, talking about other people was not always meaningless. It was a way for survival information to move. Because there were no files, no cameras, no criminal records. The only way to know whether a person was reliable was through what others remembered. If that experience stayed inside one person's mind, it could not protect anyone else. So when people around the fire talked about what someone had done before, they were updating an invisible map of trust. That map was not written on paper. But it decided where a person still stood inside the tribe. A person with a damaged reputation might not be driven out immediately. He might still sit by the fire, move with the tribe, and receive food. But certain things would slowly change. People would not remove him right away. They would pull back trust. Important tasks would no longer go to him. His words would no longer carry the same weight. This was not a punishment that arrived all at once. It was more like trust slowly pulling back. If someone stole food once, the tribe might still give him a chance to explain. Maybe he was truly starving that night. Maybe under extreme pressure he made one terrible mistake. A tribe that threw people out after every failure would not last very long, because every person has moments of weakness, fear, and loss of control. What mattered was what happened afterward. Would he admit what he did? Would he make it right? Would he return to the responsibilities of the tribe? If he tried to repair the damage, the tribe might slowly allow him back. But if a person kept breaking the rules, the meaning of his behavior changed. The tribe no longer saw one mistake. They saw a continuing risk. Trust would keep falling. Cooperation would keep pulling away. His place inside the tribe would move closer and closer to the edge. Eventually, people would stop thinking, "He did something wrong." They would start thinking, "Being near him is dangerous." Only then might the most serious punishment appear. He could be expelled from the tribe. To modern people, this may sound like simple social rejection, but for ancient humans, it could come close to a death sentence. A person who left the tribe did not first face loneliness. He faced practical danger. At night, no one was there to watch for danger. If he was injured, no one was there to lift him. Even basic information, like where to find water, could quickly disappear. In that world, survival was not something a person completed alone. Every person near the fire was part of a larger system. So being expelled from the tribe was not just a social failure. It was more like having the entire survival system suddenly cut off. From that moment on, he had to face hunger, cold, predators, and darkness alone. No one waited for him, and no one treated him as one of us anymore. This is why ancient tribes had to deal with bad behavior. Not because ancient people were morally pure. The opposite is closer to the truth. Humans have always had the impulse to be selfish, to cheat, to avoid risk, and to take advantage when possible. Once the person who breaks the rules keeps winning, the first people to change are often not the bad ones. They are the ones who had been willing to cooperate. They begin to wonder whether trusting the tribe only makes them easier to exploit. This kind of change usually does not happen all at once. It happens slowly. People begin saving something for themselves. Cooperation does not vanish in one moment. It becomes thinner. So rules did not only protect abstract order, they protected cooperation itself. They kept the people who contributed from being used forever, and they made the ones who repeatedly harmed the tribe lose their place over time. From this angle, law did not appear out of nowhere. Long before humans wrote rules down, rules had already existed for a very long time. They were not on paper. They were not in a courtroom. They lived in the tribe's memory of a person. What someone had done would be remembered. Whether he could still be trusted would change because of it. Of course, this system was rough. Rumor could hurt innocent people, and fear could push the tribe toward the wrong judgment. That is why humans eventually needed evidence, judgment, and more stable standards of punishment. The meaning of law was not that it created order from nothing. It made an older human process clearer and more stable. So before there were laws, who stopped bad people? Not one hero, not the strongest person. It was the tribe's protection of trust. When a person kept breaking the rules, what he lost was not just a piece of meat. It was not just one chance. He lost the reason others had to keep cooperating with him. Maybe this was one of humanity's earliest rules. Civilization did not begin when bad people disappeared. It began when humans finally understood this. If betrayal has no cost, cooperation cannot last.